Indeed, a very good afternoon to you. It is 1 p.m. on the 16th of September. The year is 2022. Thank you for joining us here on KBC Lunchtime News. We do have a comprehensive bulletin that we have prepared for you with all of the latest stories that are making headlines at this hour in this country and also from across the globe. I am Nissie, Imano. Many thanks for joining us. Now we want to begin in Mombasa County, where the Council of Governors has been holding their forum, and today is day 2. We will be joined by Michael Wandiga, who is a reporter on standby in Mombasa, to give us an update on this particular story. Good afternoon, Michael. What is the latest from Mombasa County?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Nissie, Imano. Of course, you're coming to you live from Mombasa County. This is the day 2 of County Governors Induction Program, and it's a workshop which is taking 3 days. It started yesterday, which was officially opened by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and a lot of issues had been discussed, and we, of course, are waiting deliberations on the way forward on some of the issues. Of course, the government said that, the national government rather said, it is committed to ensure that devolution is the government is committed to ensure that devolution takes place as it is supposed to be, or as it is mandated in the Constitution. And as the governors come in, of course, there's some of the issues they need to know on the do's and don'ts and what to do. Their cooperation between them and the national government. And I'm here joined by Sir. He'll tell us his name and what he's in charge of in this great workshop. Karibu sana, Baba, and tell us your names and what is happening. Today is day 2 of this induction program, and maybe looking forward, there's some of the services which the governors have been lamenting rather that they need to be devolved, but they are not yet devolved to the county governments. Please bring us up to speed.
Okay, my name is Kevenji Kirago. I am the chairman of what is called the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, which is established by law in 2012 as required by the Constitution. Our work is to ensure and support the county governments and the national government to work together, to consult each other, to cooperate with each other, to coordinate with each other, so that they can serve the Kenyan people well. They can do the best that they can do for the Kenyan government, because both levels of government require each other for them to deliver properly to the people of Kenya in terms of especially of the services which have been devolved. And the meeting here is about county governments in the first instance, especially because they are new governors being taught what can go right, what can go wrong in those relationships, and also what they can do better in terms of managing the resources, managing the counties, and delivering service to the people. At the same time, it is an opportunity for everyone, including the governors who have been there before, to exchange what are the challenges, changamoto, between the two levels of government, and even those which they are experiencing in the county governments themselves, for example, between governors and county assemblies, the MCAs. So those are the things which are being discussed at the moment, and people are exchanging knowledge and experience, but also sharing those issues and challenges, so that some of them, they can be heard by the national government to deliver. At the same time, and that was what was underscored by the Deputy President, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua yesterday, is that it is clear that the national government needs to support the county governments to do the things which the Constitution enabled them to do. And that what that requires is that those functions, those things which services which county governments are supposed to render, should not be handled by national government ministries, which has been happening over the last 10 years. And the governors have been complaining about it. The Deputy President, echoing the point made by His Excellency President Ruto in his inauguration, is that this is going to change now. and the governors are going to be facilitated to do the things which the Constitution says they should do. If it is agriculture, there are things which agriculture is a devolved function, and therefore the governors in the counties should be the ones looking to see what needs to be done to help the farmers in that county. But they need to be supported by the national government. For example, if they don't have specialists in soil, looking at how the soil is, then the national government can come in to give them support in terms of specialists in soil science. And also, research, agriculture research is a national function. It's not a county government. And therefore, the national government needs to support the county governments in terms of knowledge, in terms of technology, in what to do to support agriculture. On the other hand, the national government needs to give the county governments also the money, for example, therefore, to support the farmers with the farm inputs, fertilizers, chemicals, and so on. And they can work together to agree in what ways that needs to happen. That is the nature of the matters being discussed at the moment. This is, of course, is the first meeting. But in this first meeting, in these past consultations with the governors, the idea is also now to build the momentum for the next stage of consultations. Because, these are very complicated. Some of these things sound easy to talk about, but they are a little bit complicated. So more conversations, more consultations is going to be required between the cabinet secretaries and the principal secretaries who come in now, and the governors to agree. If it is an agriculture, they need to sit together and say, for us to revive agriculture in this country, for us to have food security in this country, this is what the county governments are going to do. And this is what the national government is going to do. Yes. Not each one doing their own things there, the other one doing their own things there. Then we don't get the result that we want for this country.
And apart from agriculture, maybe what are the other services which need to be devolved so as to ensure that for us to realize to realize devolution, the common mandate is about service delivery. So which are some of these services apart from agriculture?
Well, the Katipa, the Constitution says which are the functions which are to be delivered. In what is called Schedule 4 of the Constitution, it is clear which functions should be devolved. Na ilitolewa gazeti na ile ikuitwa Transition Authority. Wakaacha mbili tu, mambo ya museum na mambo ya libraries, na hizo sisi kitengo chetu ambao kina uwezo huo kimeaishafanya gazettement kwamba hizo functions nazo pia ziende katika serikali za mitaa to the county governments. But the big issue is transferring enough resources and building enough capacity in the county governments so that those things they can do. It's one thing to say you have gazetted and to say you have transferred, but also you need to move the resources. And I believe His Excellency President William Ruto meant, yes, we are going to move resources, we are going to move staff, we are going to look at what ministries are keeping, which should go to the counties. There are things, for example, even some of the rural-owned money should probably go to some of the money used by KERA, the Kenya Rural Authority, some of the money used by Kenya Up and Roads Board. Some of those resources probably need to go now to the counties because those are devolved functions. Kwa hivyo kisheria we have gazetted the transfer of function, but haijafanyika kwa sababu the things will continue to happen in the ministry. And as for example, an example given is, there are a lot of things which happen in the Ministry of Health which probably needs to go to if the money was available, should go to the county governments. But it's not just, again, a question of just giving the county governments money. The Constitution demands that also the national government, ukitransfer hiyo function, unaenda huko na unawapatia county governments ability, unawafanyia training, unawafanyia technical support, unawasaidia kufanya systems ili waweze kutekeleza to do their majukumu, to do their functions. That is also necessary.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Of course, he has put it into perspective what is really needed and what the deliberations which you are expecting to be deliberated here. Of course, we'll be bringing you up to speed, but something to note is that after the 9th August elections, of course, we had 28 new governors and we had 7 female governors. That is from Meru, from Meru, Machakos, and Kiambu. So there are several. That is 7 of them are female. That's quite a number in this or in the just concluded 9th August elections. And of course, we had 10 re-elected governors. That shows that really wananchi they're focusing on service delivery. And of course, we had 2-term sitting deputy governors who had of course taken the mantle. That is from Kwale County, where Fatuma Achan, and of course in Uasin Gishu County. So we'll be pitching camp here and of course bringing you up to speed as events unfold on certain deliberations to be made. Back to you, Nissie.
Thank you very much. That's Michael Mwandiga at the Mombasa, the Council of Governors Forum. The induction yesterday was day 1, and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua had assured the COG that the national government will support devolution. So day 2, and we are keeping a close eye on that. We'll be giving you more updates as the day unfolds and in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, moving on, police officers in Gatundu North, Kiambu County have recovered rail guards and steel pipes worth 500,000 shillings, which were meant to draw water from the multi-billion Karimenu Dam to ease water supply to residents of Juja, Ruiru and outskirts of Nairobi town. The construction materials were on transit along Mubau, Buchana Road near the mega dam.
Speaking at Kanjeria Police Station in Gituamba Ward, Kiambu County Police Commander Muchangi Kioi observed that vandalism of materials from the critical national infrastructure has been on a rise owing to rogue scrap metal merchants.
Of late, we have been having a spate of theft of stock within Gatundu South area.
Kioi wants scrap metal buyers to be careful as they might find themselves on the receiving end of law.
If they continue buying such kind of items, we want to be very friendly to them and we are going to arrest them and charge them before court.
Residents were further called upon to desist from destroying infrastructure which has been installed to resolve their water shortages.
And we cannot encourage or entertain this kind of nonsense where few characters want to fundraise the dam.
The 5 suspects have been arrested and are facing charges of stealing and handling stolen property. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Frederick Parsai. In the K village, Gatundu North in Kiambu County have raised concern following the alleged re-emergence of cartels. The farmers regret having lost over 4 million worth of coffee bags to thieves who are alleged to have stolen with the help of insiders. The farmers are now calling on the security agencies in the area to look into the matter. Edwin Austin reports.
The farmers say they have lost in excess of 60 coffee bags worth over 4 million Kenya shillings. The gangs are said to transport their loot by road in broad daylight and evade multiple police roadblocks. In a meeting that saw the entire management of Ndekei Coffee Factory fired and replaced by a new board, farmers decried that more coffee could be stolen unless immediate action was taken.
Yameongeza saidi. Kuna wakati tulikuwa tukisoma, tulikuwa tukipewa, wazazi wetu walikuwa wakipewa shilingi 2 na tulikuwa tukisoma na hiyo shilingi 2, lakini kwa leo hii payment tulikuwa tumepewa 100 na kitu na boni zilikuwa zaidi ya 150.
Lakini ile sheria zimewekwa na wakulima, hiyo ndio tutafuata ya kutokuwa na stoko kubwa kwa factory.
While urging the police to heighten security around the area, the farmers also lauded the government for promising them cheap fertilizers and expressed optimism of better yields.
Kulima wa kahua utakuwa kubwa sana sasa. Kwa sababu mtu anaenda ananunua fertilizer 3,500 anakuja anaweka kwa samba. Kahua inakuwa mzuri.
On his part, Kiambu County Police Commander Muchangi Kioi, who was in the constituency, vowed to work with the farmers to smoke out the cartels to enable farmers enjoy maximum profits.
We are following it very closely And sorry to say also there is an issue between the management and the watchman. I think they are the ones who are colluding with those people come to steal that coffee, and we have tried to talk to them. We have discussed with them in our security committees so that the theft of coffee does not continue, and especially now because we are coming for the Mbamba harvest.
Edwin Austin for Lunchtime News.
All right, let's now switch gears to politics, where Gladys Mungai, who's our reporter, is on standby in Athi River, Machakos County, to give us an update on the Azimio la Umoja retreat. Good afternoon, Gladys Mungai. What is the latest?
Good afternoon to you, Nissie, Imano. Like you put it, we are live from Stony Athi in Athi River, Machakos County, where Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer, that is Raila Odinga, as well as his running mate Martha Karua and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, are congregating here with the elected members of Parliament and the Senate affiliated to Azimio la Umoja. And one of the key issues that have necessitated that congregation is sort of the agreement on who they will front for the House leadership, that is in the Senate and the National Assembly. And remember, Parliament is yet to resume its sittings to commence its business officially, and that is set to begin in a week's time from now. And what we have from both members of the political divide is that they are trying to make the final preparations and agreements in indeed as to who they'll front for the key positions, that is the leader of majority and the leader of minority, depending on the numbers, as well as the leadership of key committees in the National Assembly and the Senate that are key in the legislative agenda. You remember that even as it stands, Azimio la Umoja didn't make it to the presidential bid. That particular win didn't happen, but they are looking to ensure that members of Parliament and those at the National Assembly will be key in fulfilling their legislative agenda to the members of public. It is a meeting that is currently not open to the members of the media. It's a closed-door session where Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, as well as Kalonzo Musyoka, are meeting their elected members at Athi River in Machakos County. Also, to probably inform our viewers, is as it stands legally, Azimio la Umoja has the majority of the elected members of Parliament in the National Assembly, and at the Senate is a matter of neck to neck. But after sort of the movement of Azimio la Umoja, some section of members of Parliament from Azimio to Kenya Kwanza, that brings the issue of a sort of litigation that they'll be seeking clarification from the clerk and the register of political parties to indeed ascertain who is the majority in the National Assembly and how that particular election will go a week from now. And another issue that our viewers probably may want to know is the issue of the induction of this particular members of Parliament that is supposed to commence from Monday next week, and that is supposed to make them understand the standing orders of the House that have since been reviewed from the 12th Parliament, and we have new clauses in the standing orders, the updated ones. And so from Monday to Friday next week, we'll be having a session of members of Parliament at Safari Park where they'll be informed about standing orders and what is expected of them. And so what we have is a Kamokonji going on right now at Machakos County to get to understand how and who they'll be fielding to ensure that they win. It is a meeting that is set to commence and go on for the next 2 hours, and thereafter we'll be having a press briefing from members of this Azimio la Umoja to tell us what probably they've agreed upon, and we'll be informing you in as much as quick as we get those particular details. Back to you, Nissie.
Thank you very much. That's Gladys Mungai and the team. They're keeping a close eye on that closed door meeting, as she has put it, that is currently happening in Athi River, Machakos County. Azimio la Umoja is holding a parliamentary group meeting. We will also be heading to Naivasha. Also, Kenya Kwanza is also holding its own separate retreat, and we'll be giving you that in a few. We do have a team on standby in Naivasha, Nakuru County. John Jacob Kioria, good afternoon. Can you hear me? What is the latest from Naivasha?
Thank you very much. Back at Broadcasting House, indeed, live from Naivasha, Nakuru County. This is the venue of the Kenya Kwanza meeting, a retreat, obviously, that will be led by the party leader of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance and President William Ruto, and all the members of Parliament from the Senate as well as National Assembly are gathering here. The agenda, obviously, being to discuss House leadership and other in-house matters. And definitely, we'll just get a sneak view into it. And I have the Member of Parliament for Kipipiri, Honorable Wanjiku here to just give us a look into the process today. Habari yako mheshimiwa?
Asante sana, nashukuru. Leo ni tuseme siku nzuri because we are here as UDA members and affiliate, that is Kenya Kwanza, expecting our party leader, the brand new president Honorable Ruto and his team, fundamentally to plan on parliamentary programs, committees, na tunaona hii ni kitu ya maana sana kwa sababu I've been in Jubilee and time and again you have been called to State House and you are told so and so will be in this committee, so and so will be in this committee. So what our party leader have said, he wants us to come here, agree your interest, and if it is voting, he has even committed that he also be voting, and then we be in the right committee of our own choices. Also, we expect maybe to discuss on the current situation in the country. You know, the high standard of living. Many Kenyans whom I want to encourage are wondering how UDA government has been formed and the fuel are already skyrocketing because of this issue of subsidy, which most Kenyans are not aware of. First, this subsidy was denying competition in the market because it was going to few companies. Again, we were informed of the huge budget, which is almost the same as our budget for development of this country, and it is also a short-term or rather a temporary approach to the fuel crisis. I want to encourage Kenyans to be patient. It's a matter of time. We know fuel crisis is a global crisis, which is mainly controlled by global politics of Europe, of West, and we know this can be locally solved by our own self, making our economy better, probably lowering the dollar to possibly less than 100, because if our forex rates are reasonable, then we can be able to have better prices for fuel. But ideally, the issues of Flauga and all that, I know many Kenyans are looking forward, but I tell them to be patient. The issue of Mombasa Port, we are here right in Naivasha. I want to encourage Naivasha people that all is not lost. Ideally, it will be a win-win situation because the president has committed on an industrial park here in Naivasha. So if jobs were created through the dry port here in Naivasha, the same jobs will not be lost because we shall have an industrial park here. And also we know in devolution, we have been expecting counties to be self-reliant. So by bringing the port here in Naivasha is already diluting the expected revenue for Mombasa County. So for us to have win-win situation in the whole country, I think the new president is doing the right thing. So ideally we are here to plan for parliament, committees and such related issues.
Let me take you back to the question of House leadership, because in terms of who is majority, and I think the register of political parties probably says that it is Azimio that are majority. I don't know how you're going to approach it as Kenya Kwanza, seeing the fact that you are the ones who have formed government, but then in a situation where in Parliament you don't have majority.
You know, this issue of mathematics have really become a tall order in this country, and I want to hope that the registrar of political party will not fall the trap, because ideally even if you look around, you can see who are the majority. Even you don't need to count. If we start there as Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, you can see who are the majority. But this was also proved by the voting of the speaker, because if they were the majority, then the speaker would have been elected from Azimio. If they were the majority, the speaker of the Senate. So I think this is an issue that will be put to closure by the speaker when we get to the House, and we shall only be able to do this when we have the majority leader, minority leader, who of course will come from the minority team.
I'm sure these are intense negotiations. I don't know what committee you want to occupy yourself.
Myself, I'm looking forward as a Nyandarwan, because as members of Nyandarua from UDA, we have agreed that one member must be in budget committee, another one in water, another one in electricity, another one in roads mainly, because we have 2 members who are coming from Jubilee, so they are on that other side. But the 4 of us, at least, we have distributed ourselves in those 4 committees. Whichever I fall in, I'm okay, because in Nyandarua we don't have water. In Nyandarua roads are pathetic. In Nyandarua electricity connectivity is almost zero. So I'm looking forward to any of those departmental committee.
All right. Thank you very much. Honorable Njikumo here, the Member of Parliament for KPP Nyandarua County. And obviously, as you can see, the preparations are in top gear to receive the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, when he makes his way to the Sawela Hotel in Naivasha. The discussion centering around positions, and particularly the leadership of the House. And you remember there's a legal issue that is pending as regards the leadership of the House in terms of the advice from the registrar of political parties, bearing in mind that there are about 5 parties that were under Azimio that already joined Kenya Kwanza. The question obviously is a legal one on how this one will be sorted out by the Speaker as well as the leadership of the House. But that's just it. We continue to await the arrival of President William Ruto, and once he is here, obviously we'll be giving you a sneak preview into it. Let me just grab Honorable Kamket for a minute. He's the Member of Parliament for Tiaty, and of course elected on a KANU ticket, but now joining Kenya Kwanza. How are you, sir?
Very well. How are you?
Absolutely. Good to see you here. Probably can tell us the crux of the negotiations happening here today.
Well, nothing more than placement of members in committees, really, because Parliament operates through a committee system. So it's important that we meet here, and there's a lot of balancing that we have to do in terms of parties. Kenya Kwanza is a big coalition. Some of us who are coming in from KANU, those who were there before, and that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of balancing. I need to do county. So that's why we're here. Yeah.
Your party KANU is still regarded as part of Azimio. I don't know how you're going to walk through the legal question in Parliament.
That question will be determined by the Speaker. I am sure he's cracking his mind. For me, my mind was a very simple decision. I was not the Azimio candidate in Tiaty. Azimio did their zoning, and they had another candidate in Kenya Union Party, and I defeated that candidate. So I was neither in Azimio nor in Kenya Kwanza. I was in KANU, and I'm in KANU. All right. But now I'm KANU, Kenya Kwanza. Okay. Yeah, it's very simple.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Member of Parliament for Tiaty, William Kamket, of course, speaking to us as regards the negotiations here. Clearly, it will boil down to the Speaker of the National Assembly determining who really is the majority in the National Assembly in terms of taking up the leadership. You're talking about the majority leader, the majority whip, their deputies and chairpersons of a committee. But you remember there are 2 committees that are reserved for the opposition, and that is the Public Investment Committee and the Public Accounts Committee. And we'll be here to obviously see how these negotiations end once President William Ruto has made his way here. Back to you, Broadcasting House.
Thank you, John Jacob Kioria, who is in Naivasha, Nakuru County. Some of the issues mentioned there that Kenya Kwanza will be addressing, even though the agenda is House leadership, are just the same across the different counties, as Mheshimiwa has put it: water problems, issues of infrastructure and roads, electricity, and so on and so forth. So we will be giving you more updates as the day unfolds. On that note, we are taking a short break, but we'll be back in just a bit. Don't go too far.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
We are here to destroy. The mighty will fall.
Driver, the members of Contra Unit. How have these guys not even been suspended or banned from MLW yet? After what they did to Ace Romero, after what they did, oh my God! Oh my God! Get some help out here! They just set the man on fire against the former champion. Oh no! No! These guys are
wapatie adabu kuanzia miaka 7 mpaka miaka 14. Wasahibu 7, uwe naye karibu, ile urafiki kuanzia miaka 14 mpaka 21. Hayo yote mnayafanya. Kama ni mtoto wa kike, mbuzi mmoja ama kondoo mmoja. Lakini mtoto wa kiume, kondoo wawili au mbuzi wawili kama una uwezo. Kama huna uwezo, mbuzi mmoja.
Vile vile tunafaa kuwafanyia watoto wetu akika, na pia tunafaa kuwapa majina mazuri na kuelimisha kama inavyopaswa, ili waweze kunufaika hapa katika dunia na kesho akhira.
There's a new game in town. It's a game like no other. It's captivating. It's fun. Entertaining and refreshing.
Which year was the film released?
Correct answer. Don't miss out on the Second Chance television game show, premiering on Channel 1.
Welcome back. You are still watching Lunchtime News. Thank you for staying with us. Now moving on, with the prevailing drought and hunger that has hit most parts of Meru County, National Drought Management Authority Committee together with Meru County officials have come together to put in place mitigation measures to address the alarming crisis in the region. This even as the county continues to release food aid to schools and households.
In an emergency meeting held by National Drought Management Authority Committee in conjunction with Meru County officials to address the drought crisis that has seen thousands of households affected in the region, Meru County Commissioner Fred Ndunga says that they are working around the clock to ensure that schools and households that have been worse hit are supplied with food as they work out on a lasting solution to the crisis.
Tumejadiliana vile ambavyo kama serikali pamoja na mashirika yanayojumuika katika kusaidia watu wa Meru, tunahitaji kuweka rasilimali zetu pamoja. Shule nyingi ambazo ziko kwa mpaka wetu na Isiolo zimeathirika kabisa.
On his part, Meru County Drought Coordinator Nur Godana emphasized on the need of various stakeholders and partners to come on board to alleviate the suffering being witnessed in the county as a result of the looming crisis.
Around 66,000 households are in dire need of food. And that translates to around 400,000 in Meru County. So we're appealing to partners. The government is doing a lot of interventions and cash transfers. It's ongoing.
His sentiments were echoed by the Kenya Red Cross Society coordinator of Meru County, Dennis Were, who assured of their commitment and full support to the cause.
As Kenya Red Cross, our mandate is to be able to work closely with the national government and the county government to be able to offer the support that is needed, particularly at such a time where the county is in dire need of drought interventions. And so far as Kenya Red Cross, we've been able to work closely with the relevant authorities to be able to provide that support that is needed.
Currently, the areas mostly affected are the lower areas of Buuri, Tigania, and other sub-counties within Igembe. According to the report released by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, over 3.5 million Kenyans are facing hunger due to acute drought and the consecutive poor rainy seasons. Opicho Chemtai for Lunchtime News.
And in Kajiado County, education stakeholders have urged parents to be vigilant and protect their children from retrogressive practices during the school holiday. The stakeholders cited practices such as female genital mutilation and early marriages, which are rampant during school holidays.
Speaking at Ilbisil Township Primary School in Kajiado County, teachers and parents noted most learners face a myriad of challenges associated with the community culture when on holidays. The speakers highlighted the issue of the boy child being neglected and over the years being reduced to herding cattle and other manual jobs.
Tunaomba ya kwamba hata kwa mtoto wa kiume tunaomba kabisa ya kwamba waangaliwe kwa sababu tumeona wasichana tu anashughulikiwa.
Parents were also urged to shield their daughters from female genital mutilation and early marriage, which they said are the root cause of school dropouts.
Mtoto wa kike amepewa kipaumbele na mashirika yasiyo ya kiserikali. Mashirika mengi yamejitokeza kumtetea mtoto wa kike, na kidogo mtoto wa kiume amewekwa kando. Na hivyo basi tunaweka wito kwamba wale ambao ni washikadau ambao wameweka nguvu nyingi katika kumempower mtoto wa kike.
Elsewhere, new administrations of county and national government have been urged to set aside funds that would be used to promote reproductive health and education to improve lives of women in Samburu County. The founder of Integrated Program, Ann Kanai Lelsit, called for a stop on gender-based violence and urged for the enrollment of more girls in schools for a progressive society.
Tumeona tumefinyiliwa sana, maana kuna harmful cultural practices ambayo ndio zinatuhumiza zaidi kama FGM, early child marriage, kuna pia beating, kuna wife battering. Tupatiwe hata nafasi ya kutoa maoni yetu ama mipango yetu katika mikakati yetu tunapangiwa na wanaume, maana the county is a patriarchal county, wazee ndio mambo yote. Na kina mama leo tumejitokeza kutoa hii memorandum ili sana tuweze kufight, kulobby and advocate for our rights in the county.
All right, we now want to head over to Athi River in Machakos County. Earlier we had mentioned that the Azimio la Umoja is also holding its own separate parliamentary group meeting, and currently speaking is Honorable Martha Karua. Let's take a listen.
Us, the owners of the process or co-owners. So this is just to heighten that awareness that being together, unity is strength. And divided, we fall. I do not want to belabor those points. Collaboration is in order, but from a position of strength and within the framework of the law. We have seen attempts to take us to the yesterday, where people used to troop to State House. The word was that people would go there to eat ugali. But wale walinyakua wako na other terminologies, eating rice and meat. Isn't it better you cook your own rice and meat in your own house? Why would you want somebody else to cook rice and share to you? So let us see how to move forward so that we can be able to help ourselves and the country. It is not my day to make lengthy speeches, so without further ado, allow me to call my brother, my younger, straight away, even without, okay, without much ado, my brother.
All right, that's Honorable Martha Karua, who is speaking at the currently ongoing Azimio la Umoja Parliamentary Group meeting. And we will be bringing you more on that a little bit later in the day. Now, moving on, National Council of Churches of Kenya has strengthened existing initiatives to encourage women to develop and raise their voices against gender-based violence. A sensitization forum at Getembe Church of God in East Africa, Kenya, Kisii Town, challenged the participants to acquire information geared towards effectively responding against the violations.
According to Philippe Nyarangi, the anti-gender violence champion, a strong women's voice is necessary in protecting themselves and children from the violence.
I went through that, but at least...
She however added that more women should seek the knowledge through the champions trained under the ongoing program or approach gender human rights defenders in the community.
Kama ni upande wa kudhulumiwa kwa watoto wasichana, tutawaelekeza kupata haki, na kama ni hawa mama ambao hawana hata mawazo ya kukuwa na biashara ndogo ndogo, tunaenda kuwapatia hayo mafunzo ambayo tumepata hapa ili mwanamke akuwe na nafasi ya kujisimamia katika jamii.
This was echoed by Elika Kwamboka, who lauded the program for educating women on their rights.
Issues we have discussed with NCK about women and women empowerment and women security, and even the issues that affect women outside here, some of which women do not come out and talk about the issues. It is not because maybe they don't want, but maybe they have not reached the platforms in which they can be able to iron their issues out.
Andrew Kero for Lunchtime News.
All right, before we go into business, we want to take you back to Athi River. Currently speaking is Raila Odinga at the Azimio la Umoja Parliamentary Group meeting. Let's take a listen.
It's a very old, tested tactic in the military that you divide them so that they become weak and then you can be able to rule them. So if you do not bond and become united, you're going to be ruled throughout the life of this parliament. Yet you have got the numbers, the strength to be able to be the rulers in the house. So let me begin first by congratulating each one of you on your election to lead your people and to make a contribution to the destiny of our country. As I stated during our final rally on the 6th of August at Kasarani, and some of you will remember this, we went to the polls with our country at inflection point. I stated then that either something very good will happen or something terrible would happen. I said we had a choice of the promised land, but the land of bondage was also within sight, and the pharaohs was refusing to let our people go. As we gather here, that reality is with us. We have had the worst election since the return of multi-party politics in our country. At the presidential level, it is not possible to tell whether we had elections at all. But even at the lower levels of polls, I believe that a number of our people were rigged out to pave way for an UDA majority, and that during election petitions, this will be proved to have been the case. But I mentioned petitions with some trepidation. First, you have noticed the corruption, the dysfunction, the incompetence, and the capture of the IBC, the body charged with carrying out elections in our country. Secondly, you have noticed the attitude, the thuggery, the corruption, and the cynicism of the Supreme Court judges. The words that the Chief Justice used against us have never been used in our courts, even in the dark days of single-party rule and state capture of the judiciary. Chief Justice Martha Koome described our case, presented by the country's finest legal minds, as no more than hot air, a wild goose chase, incredible and hearsay evidence, red herring. These were words of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. It is my experience that whenever judges resort to insults on litigants and advocates, it is the result of a disturbed conscience. You have been here before. You have come from a judiciary that invested in threats and humiliation of litigants and advocates so that the country would not question them. That is the Supreme Court we witnessed in the presidential election case. We also have come from a judiciary that invested in intimidation. Today, the Supreme Court is threatening those talking against the judgment in the presidential petition. According to Madam Martha Koome, that judgment is not supposed to be discussed by anyone, anywhere. The court registrar has already issued threats on those who have criticized the despicable judgment of the court. In fact, Justice Isaac Lenaola is publicly accused of threatening one of the petitioners, Senator Okia Omtata, with the ruination over his stand on the court judgment. And he told Omtata that he is not an Emormor, which is the king of the Teso. And the Chief Justice has gone out to a funeral in her village and defended the judgment even before she gives out the detailed ruling. Supreme Court is now in politics. And she said that the ruling was inspired by God. I believe it was inspired by the devil. From our history as a country, we know this is an indication of a very disturbed conscience. It is the evidence of a court that sold its soul. The actions of the Chief Justice are clearly sycophantic. She has demeaned the dignity of the office of Chief Justice. In less than a year, she has destroyed what her predecessors achieved in 10 years. As if this is not bad enough, there's clearly a push by the executive to own the judiciary through illegal actions that amount to bribery. That is the reason for the rush to appoint 6 judges and to allocate money to the judiciary. That is the reason for the rush by the executive to allocate specific amount of money to the judiciary. Financial allocation to institutions and state agencies is done by Parliament based on a scrutiny of budget proposals presented by the institutions. In this case, the executive has given itself that role. It is a plain attempt to capture the judiciary through bribery. How else do you say, I'm going to give the judiciary every 3 years, I'm going to increase your budget by 3 billion shillings. How do you know how much judiciary requires this year, next year, 10 years from now? Not that we oppose the judiciary being given funds, but it should be done through legally channeled institutions and at the request of the judiciary. As I stated throughout the campaign, we believe in the rule of law and democracy. We believe in the autonomy and independence of the judiciary and separation of powers between the 3 arms of government: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. The presidential election petition should have been a victory for the rule of law and democracy in Kenya and across Africa. Our expectation has been that every Supreme Court petition and each Supreme Court decision strengthen the rule of law and deepen democracy in our country. Today, I have fears about where Kome's ruling leaves our election and democracy now and in the future. And I'm told they're saying that, 2017, we did give them a ruling in their favor by dismissing, by nullifying election of our sitting president, and then they refused to run in the subsequent election which had been ordered by the judiciary. We did not refuse. We demanded of the IBC to rectify those mistakes which had led to the nullification of the elections. And they refused to do so. So us participating in the subsequent election would have meant doing the same thing, the same way, expecting different results. That is the reason why we refused to participate. And it was after a lot of soul searching, and the country knows the details. But this is how it starts. We know how it will end and what the cost of it will be. In the 1960s and 70s, it started as a war against specific individuals and communities. By the time it was full bloom, no Kenyan was safe from the state terror. It has started again. You have three urgent tasks that we must not fail in, and on which we must embark on immediately. 1, save the judiciary, which is offering itself for state capture. 2, transform and reform the IBC and make it capable of conducting credible elections. 3, to stop the legislature from offering itself for state capture and have it play its oversight role over the government. Parliament must say no to attempts by a rogue executive to intimidate and profile civil servants and security agencies. Parliament must stand up and preserve our multi-party politics, like statements by Deputy President that the DCI has no business going to offices, DCI should wait. The DCI is not going to offices. Agencies that go to offices is not the DCI. But DCI's role is to carry out investigations of crimes and then hand over these to prosecutorial agencies and then thereafter to the judiciary. That is how the criminal justice system works. I know it from experience. I'm not a lawyer. When the law doesn't rule, thuggery does. In a government awash with thugs, you must not sit back and watch as political control is being extorted over the judiciary, the prosecution, the civil service, and the police and election management body. This is how dictatorship is born, and we have to respond to what is shaping up with a sense of urgency and alarm. So, ladies and gentlemen, what am I saying? I'm saying that we have a responsibility as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition to take charge, because you're the majority party in parliament, and therefore you're not going there as minority, and make use of your majority in parliament to keep this government in that check. And if you do that, you actually are going to be playing the role which the people had elected you to do. What is happening is that you're not government, or you're not out of government, you're not in government. In our current constitutional dispensation, the government has got 3 arms. There's the executive, there's the judiciary, and there's legislature. So you're part of government. Each one of those 3 arms has got a role to play. Parliament, as an institution, meaning both majority and minority, have a role to oversight the executive. And you're not going to be disadvantaged any more than the others, those who are supposed to be in the ruling party or in the party that controls the executive. You want the same salary? You're getting the same allowances. There's nothing more that the members of parliament from Kenya Kwisha are going to be getting away from what our MPs are going to get. So what do you want to prostitute yourself to go and say, I want to be in government? Which government? The legislature has got, it's part of a government. It's another arm of government. And therefore you have a role to play as a legislature. Therefore don't somebody come to tell you, come to government. Which government? Do you want to become a minister in government? Is it going to make you a cabinet minister? That's when you become part of the executive, not part of the government, because the government includes also the legislature. So our members should walk tall and proud that you're a member of parliament. And you have a role to play, because our people otherwise are going to be fleeced. And the eating is going to start almost immediately. It's going to start almost immediately. So you've got a role to play. And if you play that role, our people are going to respect you people. This is what we want to see. So now when you're here, we want you to leave this place as a united force. We come in as a coalition of parties which are coming together, but we want you people to bond. Because in Parliament, you are going to be members of Azimio One Kenya coalition. And then, don't be greedy over positions. Because that is where it starts. People now begin to suspect each other. Oh, I wanted this and that. It can only go to one person at a time. If you don't have it today, you'll have it tomorrow. But be part of the team. I know that members want to be members of this committee, chairman of this committee, majority leader or minority leader, or want to be a whip, and want to be this and that. If you don't get it, that is not the end of the world. And let us treat each other with a lot of respect. Don't begin, oh, we are the bigger member of this coalition and so on. Why? Being bigger member of a coalition means that you must make concessions to the others. They always say, if you go and ask the German members of parliament, that in a coalition there in Germany, the smaller parties get more than their fair share, so that the coalition can stick together. That is, it's all over the world. So don't abuse your majority and say we must get this because we are the majority party. Because if that happens, then you remain on your own. So let us agree that we want to bond in Parliament. If you do that, then this coalition will survive, and it will be able to perform its role, and it will also be able to protect those who are not with you in Parliament. In Parliament. If you have foot soldiers in Parliament, if you give any weapons to go and fight on our behalf, if you begin fighting among yourselves, the enemy will overrun you. So you need to foster unity among yourselves. Until you go out there. If you don't get this, be happy that somebody else has gotten it. And if you do not do it properly, we'll come and again we'll change. We'll change again. This is what I want you people to agree to do. And if we do that, we'll be proud of you people. So I therefore want to thank you for attending this meeting today and urge you once again to remain steadfast. Be frank and talk to each other freely as you bond and become one unit of Azimio la Umoja. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Azimio. 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 Asanteni sana.
That's the Honorable Raila Odinga speaking very strongly to members of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. He continues to emphasize that he believes in the rule of law and the three arms of government, that is the executive, the judiciary and the legislative. He's also urging his members to stay together, have unity, whether they get a position today in this meeting or not. He's just calling on them to continue to be united. And he's just echoing what Honorable Martha Karua also had said earlier. She was also calling for unity and collaboration of their members even as they move forward. So that story we'll be bringing to you comprehensively also in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, some business news now. Tourism players from 35 countries have so far confirmed attendance for the 2022 Magical Kenya Travel Expo slated for next month. Kenya Tourism Board CEO Dr. Betty Radier says the 3-day event will go a long way in highlighting the diversity and richness of Kenya's tourism industry.
The 12th edition of the Magical Kenya Travel Expo comes at a time when the tourism industry has been on a recovery path, with the sector earnings more than doubling to 167.1 billion shillings between January to August 2022, compared to 83.2 billion shillings recorded in a similar period last year. The reopening of tourism-related businesses has powered up the sector's growth as countries manage their recovery in a way that is safe, attractive for tourists, and economically viable. Kenya Tourism Board CEO Dr. Betty Radier says that the 2022 Magical Kenya Travel Expo will go a long way in highlighting the diversity and richness of the tourism industry. This, she says, will also create an avenue for investors to interact and explore opportunities within the sector.
It's a good opportunity for us coming out of the pandemic for us to provide a platform for our trade with our hosted buyer partners to interact and to compare notes and look at what's new in the destination.
Additionally, the expo is expected to offer an ideal platform for business-to-business meetings, as well as rebuild investor and consumer confidence.
Prior to the opening of the Magical Kenya Travel Show, we have organized a 5-day farm trip that is going to go all over the country to the different circuits, to the different tourism circuits at different tiers that help people to experience what the luxury product that we have is, to experience new areas of interest such as adventure, culture, wellness, gastronomy, as well as our usual staple products, which is beach and safari.
She says the expo will aid in revitalizing the tourism sector, harnessing its marketing, creating power to support economies, create jobs, and drive development outcomes. Nduta Mokami for Lunchtime News.
And at exactly 2 p.m, we come to the end of Lunchtime News, but more news on our website at www.kbc.co.ke. Also more news at 7 and at 9 p.m. And we do have a team in Naivasha that is following up on the Kenya Kwanza Parliamentary Group meeting. They're also meeting and we'll be giving you an update or a conclusive report in our subsequent bulletins. Thank you for joining us. I'm Nissie Imano. Good afternoon. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Kupata skiza tune ya mambo mema, dial star 811 star 815 hash.
Mambo mema huwaendea watu wanaosubiri, ila mambo mema zaidi huwaendea watu wanaoyatafuta.